Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Language Lifts, your favorite podcast for boosting your English skills. I'm your host, Maya, and today we're tackling a topic that's not only crucial for language learning, but also for real-life situations, talking about illness in English. And we're going to approach it with a focus on beginner practice and, crucially, slow conversation.
That's right, Maya, and it's a pleasure to be back. I'm Liam, and I'm really excited about this episode because, as you said, it's not just about grammar or vocabulary. It's about practical survival skills in a way. When you're learning a new language, especially English, knowing how to express that you're not feeling well can be incredibly important, sometimes even life-saving.
Absolutely, Liam. Imagine you're traveling or you're in a new country for work or study and suddenly you feel unwell. The ability to communicate your symptoms, even simply, makes all the difference. So, for our beginner listeners, where do we even start with such a topic? It can feel a bit daunting.
It definitely can, Maya. My advice is always to start with the basics, the building blocks. First, let's think about common body parts. You need to be able to say where you feel pain or discomfort. So, words like head, stomach, throat, arm, leg, back, these are your absolute essentials.
That makes perfect sense. If you can point and say, my head or my stomach, you're already halfway there. What about the symptoms themselves, Liam? What are some of the most common ones our listeners should learn first?
Great question. We can categorize them. For pain, think headache, stomachache, backache. Notice the word ache at the end. It means a continuous dull pain. Then, for general feelings, fever, cough, sore throat, runny nose. And how you feel, tired, dizzy, nauseous, which means you feel like you might throw up. These are the ones you'll hear and use most often.
That's a fantastic list to start with. So, once our listeners have these words, how do they put them into simple sentences? What are the easiest structures to remember?
The simplest and most versatile are I have a pain for general illnesses like I have a cold or I have a fever. Then, for pain in a specific area, my body part hurts, so my head hurts or my stomach hurts. And finally, to describe how you generally feel, I feel, followed by an adjective like I feel sick, I feel tired, or I feel dizzy. These three structures cover so much ground for beginners.
Those are incredibly practical. So, let's try a mini scenario. Imagine I'm a beginner English speaker, and I'm at the doctor's office. I'm feeling unwell. How would I start using these simple phrases?
Okay, Maya, let's play it out. I'll be the doctor. You come in and say,
Okay. Hello, doctor. I feel sick. My head hurts, and I have a fever.
excellent. That's perfectly clear, short, direct, and uses the vocabulary we just discussed. From there, the doctor can ask follow-up questions, but you've already conveyed the most important information.
And what about at a pharmacy? Maybe I have a cough and want some cough medicine.
Again, simple is best. Hello, I have a cough. Can I get some cough medicine? Or if you're unsure what you need, you could say, I have a cough. What do you recommend? The key is to be direct and use those core phrases.
Those are fantastic examples. Now let's get to the slow conversation part of our episode. Why is it so vital for beginners? Especially when discussing something as important as health.
This is where many learners get stuck, Maya. They hear native speakers talk very quickly and try to keep up, which often leads to mistakes, misunderstanding, and a lot of frustration. For beginners, speaking slowly gives you time to think about the words, to retrieve them from your memory, and to form the sentence correctly.
So it's not about being bad at English, but rather a deliberate strategy for effective communication and practice.
Exactly. It's a stepping stone. When you speak slowly, you're also more likely to pronounce words clearly. This helps the listener understand you better, and it helps you internalize the correct pronunciation. Think of it like this. If you're learning to play a musical instrument, you don't start at full speed. You practice slowly, note by note, until it becomes natural. Language is no different.
That's a brilliant analogy, Liam. So how can our listeners intentionally practice speaking slowly when they're talking about illness?
A few ways. First, practice in front of a mirror. Describe how you feel to yourself, slowly and clearly. Say, my head hurts. Break it down. Second, when you're talking to a friend or a language exchange partner, let them know you're practicing speaking slowly. You can say, please, can we speak slowly? I'm practicing. Most people are very understanding. And third, really listen to slowed down audio examples, like this podcast, and try to mimic the pace.
I love those tips. The mirror practice especially can be really powerful for building confidence without the pressure of an audience. Are there any common pitfalls or cultural considerations when talking about illness that our listeners should be aware of?
Definitely. One thing to note is that in some cultures, people might be very direct about their health, while in others, it might be a more private topic. In English-speaking cultures, generally it's okay to directly state your symptoms to a doctor or close friend, but perhaps less so in casual conversation with acquaintances unless they ask. Also, avoid using overly dramatic language unless it's truly a severe situation. Keep it factual and clear.
That's excellent advice. Being clear and concise is always best, especially when you're a beginner. So, to wrap things up, Liam, what are the core takeaways you'd want our listeners to remember from today's discussion?
I'd say, first and foremost, remember that learning to talk about illness in English is a vital life skill. Don't shy away from it. Second, focus on those foundational elements: basic body parts, common symptoms, and the 3 key sentence structures. I have a, my body part hurts, and I feel. These will get you incredibly far.
And the practice methodology we discussed, the slow conversation approach, is truly a game changer for beginners, right?
Absolutely. Embrace slow conversation. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a powerful tool for clarity, confidence, and correct pronunciation. It allows you to process, formulate, and articulate effectively. And remember, every time you practice, you're not just learning English, you're gaining the ability to take care of yourself and communicate effectively in important situations.
Fantastic points, Liam. This has been such an insightful conversation. It's clear that while the topic can seem serious, breaking it down into manageable chunks and practicing slowly can make all the difference for beginner English learners. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise today.
My pleasure, Maya. Keep practicing slowly, everyone.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in to Language Lifts. We hope this episode empowers you to feel more confident talking about illness in English. Remember, practice makes progress. Until next time, keep lifting your language skills.